Whenever a Life is Strange game releases, for a brief moment I get to listen to ecstatic discussions coming from certain corners of the internet. Nice, another game that proves my enlightened views on social issues are correct by placing them inside of a game about right and wrong, written by people who believe they are always right, and then they refuse to buy it because games are for racists. Life is Strange falls decidedly into the category of games are for everyone discussion, which is an anti-gatekeeping sentiment, but I feel that the term games are for anyone is more accurate, since anyone can play games but not everyone does, which is why I'm one of the few people who bothered to play this game, even though it was designed as the Blue's Clues of social advocacy. I'm being a touch unfair. True Colors is part of the off-season Life is Strange series created by Deck 9, while Don't Nod craft the truly insulting next game in the main series. Deck 9 tends to possess a slightly more even hand when it comes to building straw men to burn. There's still a great deal of crossover between the two though, such as the predominance of evil white men, the ridiculous romanticizing of small-town life, and speedrunning its way through representation in the face of actual small-town demographics. But by that same hand, Deck 9's Life is Strange games tend to be more boring, lacking the more sophisticated touch of middle-aged white Frenchmen attempting to show how unfair reality is by elevating the first-world problems of Zoomers to the main stage. So you end up with games that are less suspenseful than getting a root canal. The only other arrow in the Life is Strange quiver besides social advocacy is superpowers, and the power you get to play around with this time wouldn't get you a janitor's position with the X-Men. This comes after Deck 9's last game where Chloe had the ability to annoy people until they gave into her. I get the feeling that powers like time manipulation from the first Life is Strange game proved a bit too difficult for them, so they've been playing it safe ever since with powers that don't require as much time to develop or write around. But doing something difficult and different was the only thing that made the first Life is Strange game tolerable despite the heavy amounts of cringe you had to sit through. Every conversation was more than just a dialogue tree since time rewinding added a puzzle element to it. Now the series has become an invasive species with no natural predators. It doesn't have to adapt because the only competition it had went up in flames. This game's premise can be summed up in that return to monkey meme people liked last year. The modern world is harsh and unforgiving, and no one gives a damn about you. If only we could live a simpler life in a beautiful small town that contains all the convenience I've come to expect from modern life with none of the downsides. The problem with wanting your games to tackle the issues real people are dealing with is that it's a fucking video game, and the way video games deal with problems is going to create some pretty laughable situations out of moments that are meant to be thought-provoking. For instance, I can't get over the fact that my special ability is to empathize with people, which requires actual magic to do instead of just being a regular human trait that we all share. I appreciate the handy mood poster in the background telling me which emotions are which. This one piece of background art destroys the idea that you need magical empath powers to tell what people are feeling. I can't help but speculate that the developers of these games consider playing them as stressful as day-to-day life, which would explain why they give you moments of zen each episode to calm down. I only just started. At least wait until I face a decision or two before assuming I'm too unwell to continue without having a breakdown. Alex's personality is so affable that it feels like a direct attack on my patience, as she weighs every possible response for how it might affect someone before allowing me to take the wheel and choose between two positive responses with the true intention of manipulating them because clearly she knows what's best for everyone. The game doesn't realize just how much of a creep Alex's power makes her. I don't see what's so heartwarming about a girl who can reach into your mind uninvited and discover how you feel. And you would think that a game that features a main character who has a window into a person's soul would make some interesting use of it, but outside of tapping into a person's mood to slightly alter Alex's perception of her surroundings, her power is simply a mood ring. Gee, I wonder how that person with slumped shoulders and a sad face is feeling. Let me tap into my superpower to determine that this person is indeed sad over the horrible thing that just happened to them. Unlike previous games where the main character discovered their power in the first episode and the rest saw them learning to use it, Alex has had her power for years and is already familiar with it. The socially anxious and introverted's dream, being able to figure out other people's emotions. She can see auras around people that indicate their emotional state and can sometimes experience those emotions herself by being exposed to them. It's so unimaginative that the developers add mind reading to it because otherwise what would be the point? But they have even more difficulty keeping the story straight with a superpower that lets you read minds and emotions, since several characters end up hiding the truth from Alex, something a telepathic empath should have no trouble discovering. The first real puzzle of the game has Alex figure out how to get a cat off a hold list inside the record shop. This is something most people could accomplish by flicking water at it, because Alex has to find its favorite toy and lure it away. I can feel my testosterone levels dropping along with my sperm count as I play this. I think my work here is done. If this moment hasn't convinced you that this game isn't worth your time, then nothing I say is going to move you.
I read Riley's phone. I know you've been meeting with her behind my back.
It's not what you think, Mac.
Oh, good. Because I thought you were fucking my girlfriend!
Dude,
Gabe gets his ass handed to him without even an attempt at defending himself. And to make his humiliation worse, Alex's empath devil trigger goes off and she beats the crap out of Mac and Gabe. And neither of them will feel emasculated by having the crap beat out of them by a younger girl.
This is fucking psycho!
You walked into the apartment and started beating her brother. She had every right to shoot you if she had a gun.
Okay. So how did the fight happen?
The bastard sucker punched me. Okay, not exactly sucker punched, but he definitely started it.
Mac asks Alex to cover for him so his girlfriend won't break up with him, and his cover story is to place the blame on Alex's brother Gabe. You have the choice to go along with it, but like many choices in this game, the decision feels pretty weighted in the direction a non-sociopath would choose.
Alex Chen? Assaulting Mac Loudon on your first day here, huh? I'm Jason Pike, the deputy sheriff. I'm gonna have to take you in for questioning.
Mac assaulted Gabe. He's the one you want.
Your face. You should see your face. Oh, jeez. No, I'm only kidding. Nobody's in trouble here.
An actual crime did occur though. Not only did Deputy Pike use a real assault to make a joke, he does nothing about Mac who perpetrated it.
It's character stats. Do you know what a LARP is?
Yes, a way to ruin your social life.
Can you tell what I'm feeling right now?
It doesn't work like that. It's only when you feel really strong emotions.
Well, what kind of power is it then? If someone is having emotions, like your brother would clearly be having right now after finding out his sister is an empath, you should be able to pick up something.
Is Ethan up here?
No, he was heading home.
He was, but I haven't seen him in a while.
Why would Ryan be the one checking in on Ethan when Gabe is the one dating Ethan's mom? And if the last time Ryan saw Ethan, he thought he was headed home, then obviously one would assume the kid went home if he hasn't been seen anywhere else. Did he go and randomly check Ethan's house that he wouldn't have access to?
I'll be damned.
The whole story is about Ethan's character breaking into a monster stronghold deep underground.
Sounds like the mine to me. Does it show where he went?
To discover how Ethan got past the mine, Alex uses the comic he drew and gave to her that he based off this location, a comic Alex left on her bed after unpacking and didn't bring with her. A small child opened his door by himself that two adults struggled with.
Pretty sure Ethan climbed these stairs.
And he placed a metal sheet in front of them after going up.
What took you so long? You never forget how to break a lock.
Why didn't you go back and get them then while they fooled around inside the building following comic book clues if you just picked a lock? You're burning minutes on a missing kid here.
Anor looks out from the watchtower and spots the secret entrance to the stronghold.
You're reading narration off a page that isn't there. Nowhere on that page is that narration found. Ethan is trapped on the other side of the ravine after the log he tried to walk across collapsed. Instead of calling authorities to help in the situation, Alex decides to cross and see the lighthouse and walk him back across. As far as these three are aware, they have all the time they need. There's no need to rush this rescue as if Ethan is in imminent danger. Walking a panicked child across a rotten log is the worst idea you could come up with, and only Alex is secured by the rope. Ethan is screwed if he falls. After getting Ethan across the ravine, blasting resumes despite being called off due to Ethan and causes rocks to roll down the cliff. One of them hitting Gabe, knocking him into the ravine and almost dragging Alex with him, forcing Ryan to cut the rope to save her. Ironically, Ethan would have been just fine on the other side of the ravine. In some ways, True Colors feels like an experiment. It's no longer truly episodic, allowing you to play the entire game from day one. I'll excuse anyone to go slap themselves in disbelief over such a novel idea. There's 5 episodes, but there's only 3 episodes worth of content, so every chapter after the first one is only half as long as it.
What happened to Gabe was a senseless, tragic accident. And I just wish
It
that...
wasn't an accident.
Son, now is not the time.
Gabe called the mine. I gave him my sat phone to be sure he could get through.
That was my shift. If anyone had called, it would have gone through me. Nobody called.
You're lying.
Can someone give me a diabetes shot? Not insulin, but an injection that actually gives me diabetes, because managing the sudden swings of a metabolic illness might make it easier to follow this logic. Before finding Ethan at the old mine, Gabe made a call to Typhon in order to postpone blasting that night until they found him, and was reassured that they would. Then the blasting commenced anyways, killing Gabe. During his wake, Mac, who assaulted Gabe shortly before his death, speaks up even though no one mentioned him, and tells Ryan that he was on call that night and received no call from Gabe. His death could have been an honest mistake or miscommunication, until Mac volunteered to reveal a conspiracy by claiming Gabe never called in, which is so easy to disprove that it immediately cast suspicion on him and Typhon. Gabe's girlfriend's son was missing in a blast zone. Why would he lie about calling in a warning and then enter the blast zone himself? The call would show up on phone records as well. The rest of the damn plot is kicked off because Max spoke up like he honestly wanted to correct a misstatement when he knows he's lying about the call. Turns out everyone's emotional state when brought into existence by Alex's power is very stereotypical. Right now, Steph is upset and sad over Gabe's death, so her emotions are depicted as a rainy day.
I need to talk to Mac. I know he's lying. I just don't know why. Any idea where I can find him?
Well, he helps out Eleanor at the flower shop. That'd be the place to start.
Jeb is a bit too into playing the role of the Good Samaritan. So much so that it eventually comes back to bite him in the ass since he's covering up for Typhon. He should be doing his best to hurry Alex out of town. He even told Alex where she might find Mac to question him about the call he supposedly didn't receive the night of the accident.
This is your home now. For as long as you'd like.
What about rent? I don't want to be a freeloader.
Don't worry about that for right now. We'll work out a way for you to earn your keep when the time comes.
I'm already suspicious of Jeb, and not simply because he's an older white guy, but because he lets Alex live in an apartment like this above the bar rent-free, which comes with a rooftop garden. Any sane person would put this on Airbnb and make a killing.
It's just... if he didn't do anything wrong, why is he acting like he has something to hide?
I see that we're applying proper jurisprudence to this investigation. As you can see, the investigation is heating up in Haven Springs, with trips to the weed dispensary, record store, and local florist. This series has gone so far down the drain that the only way to make it playable again is to take inspiration from another series about small town scandals, The Dukes of Hazzard. So put women in booty shorts and ram muscle cars over rivers already.
An affidavit from Typhon. If I sign, I'm agreeing not to press charges in exchange for a payment.
I don't believe you would be the one capable of pressing charges. You were just Gabe's girlfriend. His next of kin is his sister Alex, who was not offered any such deal by Typhon. The game comes to a total stop while Alex uses her power to help the older woman with dementia running the flower shop remember what she was doing, and her emotional inner world is shown decaying in real time with cuckoo clock sound effects. It was at this point I saw through the lack of creativity and realized that Life is Strange True Colors is a less entertaining Psychonauts, except that game is a trippy and entertaining experience, and this one simulates what it's like to be a caretaker in a retirement home. Mac's paranoia of Typhon watching him takes the form of everyone looking at Alex and CCTV cameras following her every move, and this photographer T-posing aggressively from across the street.
Stop lying for them!
You don't get it. This wasn't some accident. I told them you were down there, and they detonated anyway.
On purpose? Why?
I don't know. I swear. And then I get a message telling me to deny there was ever a call.
What a genius play Mac made. No one even brought him up during the wake, but he voluntarily spoke up that he never received a phone call that night because Typhon is pressuring him so they can deny any mishandling of the situation. You always wait until you are asked about something before lying about it. It's very hard to buy the idea that Alex is empathizing with people when in fact she's reading their mind to clue herself into what to say to emotionally manipulate them.
There's something you should know about me. And it's gonna be easier to show you than to explain it. Think of something that makes you so angry, you just want to scream.
Alex told her brother that her power doesn't work that way, so she couldn't just prove it to him. Now all of a sudden she can. For a game that's supposed to be about human emotion, it would have been nice if the developers at least understood it. I'm beginning to think they never found Gabe's body. It wasn't present for his wake and his funeral is simply a lantern lighting. Jeb is lit up in golden good feeling aura just like the others despite the fact that he knows the truth of Gabe's death. The only person who isn't is Diane, who works for Typhon and also knows the truth.
You have a superpower?
What are the odds that Steph would go to the same high school as one girl with a superpower and then later meet another? Not very likely at all until this series gets around to explaining why the West Coast is a hotbed for liberals gaining superpowers. I'm personally waiting for a Life is Strange game to depict a conservative Texan getting some kind of ability, and I'm going to be waiting a very long time for that probably.
Then tell me what I'm feeling right now.
You're feeling disbelief.
You're actually a little annoyed. You feel hurt that we didn't tell you until now.
It's getting easier and easier to prove Alex's power is real. First it didn't work like that, then Alex had to ask Ryan to think of something emotional. And with Steph, Alex can pick up on her emotions when she wouldn't be feeling anything other than suspicion, which is what every single person who hears you claim supernatural abilities will feel.
Whether it's true or not, you don't like being left out.
Well, okay.
If Alex can read Steph that easily, she should have no problem figuring out this mystery of her brother's death by questioning Diane at her table about it, since asking her questions about a sensitive issue would cause an internal emotional response as she thinks of lies and the truth at the same time. But no one who actually knows anything ever has their mind on the cover-up even when speaking with Gabe's sister. So instead, Alex learns that Diane has a USB stick with evidence on it and she steals that.
password protected. Guess I'm not surprised.
I'll bring this to Riley, see if she's willing to help. She's a whiz at computer stuff.
Riley better be a miracle worker if you're expecting her to get past 256-bit encryption. The next thing on the agenda is a LARP being thrown to cheer up Ethan, who's been feeling sad ever since Gabe died. Everyone in town participates and plays characters. I might buy it if Ethan was dying of childhood cancer and Make-A-Wish was involved, but not for a kid feeling sad.
Thanor, the monster slayer! Thanks to the gods and all the heavens you've come. I am in desperate need of a great hero. Could you be the one?
Had they used this LARP RPG idea in Life is Strange 2, I would not have been able to resist adding the opening of Skyrim to it, being caught crossing the border and all. The LARP RPG chapter feels like the developers trying to one-up themselves from their last game where they included a tabletop D&D session. But you don't surpass D&D with LARPing. That is a humiliating step backwards. Just do a more fully featured D&D section if people liked it so much.
There are 3, it is said, heroes long dead, fashioned into soul jewels, blue, violet, red.
Somebody please buy this kid a copy of Dark Souls for his own good. Alex just finished her shift at the bar, walked outside to the park right across from it, and started the LARP. How Steph had time to decorate the inside and outside of the whole street during that few minutes, I don't know. Riley, computer expert, is using some software called Hack Be Nimble Password Cracker to break the encryption on the USB stick Alex stole from Diane. I can tell from the free trial version of it that Riley just typed free password cracker into Google and went with one of the results, meaning she has most certainly downloaded and installed malware on her mother's work computer and is probably helping somebody in North Korea mine bitcoins as we speak. Alex's empath power must be sponsored by Nvidia, because it just turned on RTX for this LARP.
I'll take that sword now! And the jewels!
Cravius, Lord of the Underworld! I should have known King Tabor was you all along!
You fools! You have collected the jewels I need and brought them right to me!
I had no way of knowing that back when I sent Life is Strange 2 and recommended they play RPG boss music whenever white people appeared, that the devs would take that recommendation seriously. Oh, please tell me that siren means a Silent Hill hell world is about to descend on these two.
Please tell me that the USB stick revealed all of Typhon's secrets.
Not yet, but... Alex...
We found a recording of Gabe's call.
The conspiracy is that Typhon set off 2 blasts the night Gabe died, one at their current mine which caused a small rock slide that killed him, and another at their old mine which was closed in 2008 after an accident, but was also due for inspections. Inspections would notice recent blasting in an old and abandoned mine, which would raise questions. And if they're covering up something from the accident years ago, there most certainly would have been inspections and investigations back then that would have revealed what it is they now want to hide.
Pike, it's all on this USB drive. All the evidence you need to nail Typhon for Gabe's death and plenty more.
You informed a law officer that you stole evidence and want to turn it into him. Why wouldn't you just send it to an investigative journalist?
This game is so demoralizing. Why do I do this to myself?
I understand that man like no other.
I need a new destination. You're my good luck charm.
I hate to break it to Steph, but this game takes place in the summer of 2019, so her wanderlust isn't going to be satisfied for very long. I even picked to send her on a cruise ship.
You need to come with me to the station. Alex? Don't make this hard.
This is why you don't pretend to arrest people as a joke.
Diane is charging you with stealing her USB drive.
No lawyer present for this, huh?
If you agree to drop everything, Typhon won't press any charges.
Alex has never begun an official lawsuit over her brother's death to drop. You can't sign an affidavit that'll stop you from doing Google searches.
Typhon's the devil that runs this town. I've been carrying their secrets for far too long. I know what they buried in the mountains.
Tell me.
I'll do one better. I'll show you.
I think you could just tell her. Not everything requires visual evidence.
Chad, why are you sad?
I find it difficult to believe that a man planning to murder someone in cold blood didn't have an emotional response before now that Alex could pick up on. This is the major plot hole in a game about someone who can read emotional states also being a murder mystery. Alex has been around Jeb plenty. And not once in that time did Jeb have any emotions that would have betrayed that he was nervous about the investigation into Gabe's death, that he might be discovered, or that he was going to have to murder Alex tonight to shut her up for good. Murdering Alex is a poorly thought out plan. Nothing was going her way after the evidence was taken from her, so she has nothing, and she was dropped off at Jeb's bar by the deputy, so she has a last known location before going missing. And people would think it very strange that Gabe's sister would go missing after his death without taking any of her belongings.
I tried to talk you out of it. Scare you off?
You never once tried to do that. In fact, you encouraged her by telling her where Mac was at one time. I wish villains would start using higher caliber rounds, so their bullets would blow the hero's head off instead of triggering flashbacks and introspective hallucinations. The bullet grazed Alex's head and she fell into the mine shaft, landing on a board about 40 or so feet down. And then the board breaks and she falls an even further distance to the bottom of the mine shaft onto a rock floor and survives, despite the universe telling her that it's time to go. The second fall triggers another mine palace sequence that delves into Alex's past with her family, so she didn't fall far enough in my opinion.
You are 10, I am 14. Our mother is sick. So is our father. But it's a different kind of sickness. Play your part.
Alex is participating in the stage play of her own memories at this point, as if she doesn't know how all this goes. She's already lived it once. What exactly does this teach her about herself?
I didn't...
Dad, it's okay. Really, I'm not hurt.
I can't do this.
He's just going to pick up some milk, kids. He'll be right back.
People leave. Life gets hard. And sometimes it's a big shit sandwich. Make it better. Be angry at Dad. Miss Mom. Hell, be angry at me. But don't give up. No one gets to tell you what you're worth. And no one can take your life away. Fight.
Good thing learning that her sad childhood is something she can overcome correlates with escaping from a mine shaft after being shot in the head. Alex has changed clothes several times since she picked up Gabe's motivational matchbook, and since she doesn't smoke, it's unlikely she would have kept it on her through those changes. I know there's a good chance that Alex's phone wouldn't work inside the mine, but I still expect someone to attempt it as their first option. At the very least, she could try using the flashlight after the lamp burns out.
Jed, we got no pumps running. No.
My teams have never quit a dig this deep before. We finish the job.
This mine shaft was the one Jeb dug with his men when it started flooding, killing several of them who were left down here and cut off, which is what Typhon wanted to hide. One of the miners who died here happened to be Alex and Gabe's father, who came out this way on a multi-year search for milk, so Jeb is at fault for killing most of that family and trying to kill Alex. How they ever hid it years ago, even though it would have been investigated and inspected after so many people dying, I'm not sure. Somehow Jeb kept silent about his role, and that was apparently enough for investigators, but the upcoming inspection was enough to make them bury the evidence. But if the investigation into the incident years ago was successfully covered up with the mine still open, why would they need to seal it now all of a sudden? Wouldn't whatever steps they took back then still work? How did you find your way out of the mine in the dark? You were able to see deeper into it due to the glow of emotions where the miners died, but there wouldn't have been any emotional RGB throughout the rest of the mine. Alex just walked through the entire town looking like that and no one stopped her and offered help.
He covered up the truth about the past, about Gabe. And when I found out, as you can see, he tried to kill me too.
I love how Deputy Pike is just sitting there while all this is going down in front of him. This is kind of the moment where an officer of the law is needed.
Please. I know this is hard to accept. You all trust him. I did too. But I'm telling the truth.
I don't think the town council's vote is the important matter here, but Alex seems determined to get them on her side when this is a criminal affair now.
Stop.
None of that was necessary, because Alex can simply press the I win hypnotization button now.
I know why you tried to kill me. It's not what you tell yourself. That you thought it was best for Haven. This was never about Haven at all, was it? This was about you.
You would think when the person you're lecturing can't respond due to hypnotism or whatever, you could get through your points quicker, but Alex takes her sweet time with his speech.
And I condemn you.
These twit-longer takedowns are getting out of hand. Alex spends 10 minutes with a hypnotized Jeb, explaining to him all the ways he sucks until he has a breakdown. Alex gets to stay in the room above Jeb's bar even after that confrontation and his arrest.
Actually, I do know what you should do. You should stay in Haven.
You really think so?
Of course. You finally have a home, a job.
She got her landlord and boss thrown in jail. I'm not sure how much longer she has a home, And she certainly doesn't have a job anymore.
The apartment starts to feel less like a museum and more like a home.
Is that how it works? You get your family's killer thrown in jail and receive his property in return?
You have a superpower?